What is up, guys? Welcome back to Disclosure Team with me, your host, Vinny Adams. Following is an interview with David Altman. David has worked on so many different TV series and documentaries over the years. Most recently, he has worked on alien encounters, fact or fiction, on Discovery. Unfortunately, we had some technical issues while recording this interview, so it has been edited to the best of my ability. So it's not the longest interview, but nonetheless, it should still be informative, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and here is my interview with David Altman. So Dave, thank you so much for joining me, man. How's it going?
Not bad, man. How you guys doing?
All good, man. All good. So Dave, first things first, man, I'd just like to get a little bit of a background on yourself, man, and like the UFO thing. When did it kind of first enter your life?
Oh, man. When it first entered my life, I was a kid. My parents got divorced when I was like 8 years old, and my mom and I went to live with my grandmother, and she was the head librarian for the town library. So after school, I'd go over there and, she'd sit me down in front of the monster books. They had like all these cool Universal, like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, like old school books. And then after I went through all those, the next section was Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, and Bigfoot. So it just kind of happened. I was young. I've always been into sci-fi, like and stuff like that my entire life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of similar things, family members or friends kind of tune them into it. So what, transitioning from that initial interest, what kind of brought you into the actual community? Like, what was that first step to kind of sort of dig deeper?
So what kind of got me brought in was I was paying attention. I mean, I was kind of in before that, but not really known. Probably the first thing I ever did was when the Wilson docs came out. They were talking a lot about the alien autopsy video. And I remember listening to following it and listening to different interviews of people. And I thought to myself, like, why hasn't anybody contacted Ray Santilli and asked him about this, or if he knew what was going on? So I did. I was able, through Hollywood people, to get his number in England. And I called him. And I told that to Grant Cameron, and he flipped out. And that was like the very first interview or anything I ever did was with Grant Cameron. And it was over me connecting with Ray Santilli and the discussion that I had with Ray.
That's interesting, man. So what's your take on that alien autopsy thing?
Man, I'm still on the fence, man. Because I became good friends with Gary Shufield. And Gary was Gary isn't as well known as Ray, but Gary was Ray's partner on this whole thing back in England when they got the tape or the reel. And Gary lives here and he lives in LA. So we became friends and we talk a lot. We talk about UFO stuff, about Hollywood stuff, just in general. And to this day, he tells me it's real, man. Like, he's like, we got the footage. Some of it got destroyed, so we had to replace it. And what you see is, maybe a minute or so of real frame of the alien during the surgery, and the rest was made around it. And then I'm friends with people like Bob Kiviat, who were the other side. Bob Kiviat's like, it's fake, it's fake, it's fake. It's crazy to be like in between these people and listening, and they don't talk to each other. So, like, I'll have one telling me, tell Gary this, tell Ray, or, tell them this. It's funny, man. It's funny. 30 years later.
Yeah, I've spoken to individuals about it again on both sides, and it's really difficult because, one person might convince me that it's thoroughly debunked, but then speaking to someone else will potentially convince me, well, maybe it's not, and it's a back and forth.
Yes. Yeah, so when that happened, I was like, well, hey, it's back in the zeitgeist. Why don't we do another special on it and say, let's bring in technology that wasn't available for the testing 30 years ago. We do a whole new special on it. And Ray wouldn't give me the footage. He's like, nah, we only have a minute of it, and I'm not going to give it to you. So he's not looking to make money again. He could have made millions of dollars right there. He didn't take it. But he doesn't want anything to do with this stuff. He didn't know who Tom DeLonge was. He didn't know what TTSA was. He had no idea like who Lou Elizondo was. He doesn't follow it anymore.
Right. So yeah, you mentioned there a couple of times like Hollywood and stuff. So, at that time, you were into the UFO thing and talking to Ray Santilli. But what was your position in Hollywood, and what's the connection there? How did that all come about?
So I've always worked in entertainment. I was in the music business for a long time. I worked for major labels. I managed bands. I tour managed bands. And after the whole downloading thing came out and the CDs got scrapped, I had to find something else to do. The money wasn't there anymore. So, I did stupid little jobs in Hollywood here and there. And then I started booking Comic-Con conventions. I booked actors on internationally at Comic Cons all over the world. And through that, I met David O'Leary, who was the creator and writer of Project Blue Book for History Channel, the show that was on. So I talked him into doing some conferences. So him and I went out to Vegas to MegaCon. I think that's what it was, UFO MegaCon. I don't know, in Laughlin. And there I met the Nimitz guys, Kevin Day, Gary Voorhees, Jason. That's when I first met Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, Rick Doty, like all these people who I've studied forever were like there. It's like a kid going to like see a band play and seeing your favorite, musicians for the first time. That was my thing. And I had backstage passes, which made it even better, so I got to hang out with these guys. And so I met Kevin Day, and David O'Leary and I talked to him for a couple hours, and he said, "Hey, maybe I can use your help on some stuff after this." So I gave him my number, and then he called me like a month later, and he's like, "Hey, I'm getting bombarded by all these people from the media wanting me to do TV shows and do interviews. Can you help me?" And I was like, "Well, of course I'll help you. The guy's nicest guy in the world. He's a vet. I'll do whatever I can for you." So that's how I started meeting the production companies.
Nice. And I guess that led into you getting a job in that side of the industry as well.
Yeah. So it ended up through that. Like I became a consultant. At the beginning, I was acting like an agent. Like shows would call me, "Hey, do you have this person? Can you get this person?" And I would do that. So eventually I got hired as a consultant, and now I'm getting hired as a producer.
Yeah, nice, man. So like obviously we're going to sort of talk about the current series that's just come out or is currently airing at the moment that you cast. I think were you casting producer, or
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. We'll
Correct.
get to that anyway, but
Yeah.
could you just give me a list of some of maybe the other shows? What other shows and documentaries have you kind of worked with or worked on?
Well, I'm actually in one, which is A Tear in the Sky. And I worked on Expedition X. I worked on the first TMZ special. I worked on the J.J. Abrams series. I worked on the Steven Spielberg series. I've worked on Unidentified. Like a lot of them. I can't even remember them all. And now I'm actually developing shows, where that means I'm creating shows. So I've been doing that for about a year, and we got some pretty cool stuff coming about.
Nice, man. That's exciting. I am a big fan myself of the TV shows, and that, a lot of people kind of turn their noses up at this entertainment side of things. But, a lot of that is the reason why I got into the subject probably 15 plus years ago. So, I've always kind of it's got a place in my heart for the documentaries and stuff. So I'm into it. Any bad experiences while doing it, the UFO shows?
Sure. A lot of people are assholes. A lot of people don't know me. So when they meet me for the first time, they think I'm like just some UFO dude. It's like, no, I'm from Hollywood. I know friggin' everybody, literally everybody. You're not going to do. I've had some producers try and like get out of paying me, and I'm like, no, I know how that works. I've had a lot of jealousy. I've had a lot of jealous people. There's a lot of people that like, I came out of nowhere, and I'm doing their job for them now, and that kind of I'm doing it on purpose, but there's a lot of jealousy and stuff like that. But that's it.
I mean, I think that's probably found in any industry, in any subject. It's just it's nature.
And then, of course, we have the UFO community who you can't please with anything, you know. So either they hate it or they love it, you know. And I get flack. Why are you working on these? I'm like, wouldn't you rather have somebody like me who knows about the phenomena and has been doing this forever to do this stuff rather than some producer who doesn't even know what is? You know, like, please. I'm there. I want to keep it honest. You know, I want to do all new stuff. And yeah, so it's working so far.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So let's talk about this new show. Can you tell us kind of what the show is for anybody that might not be aware of it? I will pop the trailer in a minute for everyone that's watching. But yeah, can you tell us about this latest show, the idea and concept behind it, and why you think it may be different to the kind of normal show that we would see?
I was abducted by aliens 7 times since 1984.
Everyone has a story, and this is the town that UFOs built. I'm here to listen to firsthand accounts, consider the evidence.
Oh my God. I see it.
At that point, I'll render a verdict.
I'm a journalist. I'm an investigator. The most important thing to me is facts.
We have a piece of material evidence.
Our whole house lit up. I just unfortunately can't say this is a UFO.
I feel like it's some bull. I believe the data is wrong.
I wish I could just know what it was.
There's no question to me that you experienced a UFO. You never know who's going to walk through the front door in Roswell, New Mexico.
Yeah, so when I first got hired on this show, it was something completely different. It was first of all, it's called Alien Encounters, Fact or Fiction. It's on Wednesday nights on Discovery Channel, and then when the season's done airing, it starts up on Max and on Discovery Plus. But yeah, so at first, it was supposed to be people coming into a bar, meeting, and just talking about their experiences. You know, there wasn't supposed to be like any video or anything like that, just people talking. So then the network decided they want to do something more evidence-based. So I had about 3 weeks to find what I found. You know, I was able, with people in the community helping me, people like Philip Mantle, Tom Reed, Timothy Renner, a couple of different people helped me tracking down people that had physical evidence or great video. And then it turned into that of what it is now. So basically, people come to the show. It's shooting in Roswell. We're shooting at a bar in Roswell. And you can come in there with your evidence. And we have experts. We have 2 hosts, Mitch Horowitz and Chrissy Newton. And they'll go over your evidence and they take it to experts. Whether if it's metal, we'll get that tested, film, get that looked at, you know, typical stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that, man. And, you know, I think it's great to see Mitch and Chrissy. They seem like, you know, coming from 2 sort of different sides of the subject, and put them together, I think is a good combination. So I think that's really good. Yeah. And without spoiling too much, what can you tell us about some of the people that kind of made it onto the show with their evidence?
So yeah, I could talk about the ones that have aired. It's only been 3 that have aired because of Shark Week. They've skipped a week. So it's actually 4 that have aired. So we have Frank Kimbler from Roswell. He's from Roswell, so he didn't have to go far. He came in and we tested some of the metals that he had, that he found at the site, the crash sites down there. And, you know, they came back anomalous. They came back, you know, almost pure tin. Once again, same as Arch parts, same as Linda Moulton Howe's stuff. You know, if it's not bismuth magnesium, it's tin. I mean, aluminum. Couple of videos. I mean, it's hard to say because, like I said, it's early on. We had one guy come in, Chadwick, who had these crazy looking footprints. They were like these long 3-toed tracks that come out of the water, and crazy stuff. And he lives in a place called Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania, which is where Stan Gordon made famous. I mean, they had a huge wave there in '73. There was like the Bigfoot UFO wave that happened there, humanoid sightings. I mean, people were reporting dragons, crazy stuff, gargoyles from this area. And that's where this guy's from. And he had these tracks. He came on the show, and at the end they go, "Oh, these are emu tracks." And we're like, how could an emu get, and the thing is, like, what I wanted to do was I wanted to give the history of Chestnut Ridge. It was so important to know what goes on in Chestnut Ridge. They didn't talk about any of that. They didn't talk. So there was a lot of things that they could have said that could have backed up the claim more, historical stuff that they don't talk about. And, it kind of bummed me out. I tried. Let's see, who else? I mean, the nameless videos that have come up. I mean, one of them obviously was like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, Starlink. I don't even know why they put it on the show. It was like so obvious. Starlink right away. And yeah, I mean, otherwise you just have to watch and see. The physical evidence is just getting started. So.
No, that's interesting, man. I love that. I love that kind of aspect of it. So yeah, for anyone watching again, please go and check it out. I think it's going to be good to see something a bit different than what we normally get on this subject. So
my goal was to bring on all new people that nobody's seen before, all new evidence. But at the end of the day, you have to kind of, if you really want to show the good stuff, or if they've been on TV before, I wanted them to have tests done or test evidence that wasn't tested before. I wanted all new faces.
Yeah, I think that's important as well, because, we do see constantly, have done for almost a few decades now, the same faces. And look, I have no problem with some of the OGs. The OGs are great in this game, but I think it's time to kind of start seeing a lot of new, fresh faces. There've been such an influx in the past sort of 6 or 7 years that I think it's time to kind of step it up a little bit and change things. So I appreciate that aspect of it. Now, you mentioned earlier on that you mentioned a tear in the sky, and you were part of the UAPX team, and I just wondered, like, how did that come about? Tell us a bit about the production there with the tear in the sky, and then we can talk about the footage that was filmed at the end and any results and things like that. So yeah, let's go from the start.
So when I met the Nimitz guys, they were at the beginning of forming a team of investigators and researchers to go out to look where the Nimitz encounter happened out in 2004, which was out by Catalina, Guadalupe. So they formed this group. They asked me to join. I started just as a researcher on the team, but then I became like the media person because we started getting a lot of interest about it. When I joined it, I wasn't thinking about TV. I wanted just to go out there and do it, But the problem was, to do this thing, it would have cost a lot of money, and they were starting a nonprofit, and there was no money. So we decided, let me try and see if I can get a production company to pay for this. So really quick, I got a deal with Revelations Media, which is Morgan Freeman, his company, and they wanted to develop it into a TV show, and they were going to have us with Dan Aykroyd on the team, which would have been great. Would have been so awesome. We would have gone to different locations. Yeah, it would have been awesome. COVID hit. When COVID hit, that was it. As soon as COVID hit, they pulled the plug. So later on, after that, I had to stay in. I stayed in this contract. I couldn't do anything for like a year and a half. Like, I couldn't bring it someplace else while it was developing. And then once COVID hit, they let me out of the contract. So not much longer, right after that, is when Caroline Corey hit me up. And she's like, hey, my friend Ben Hansen told me about you, told me about what you guys are doing. I'd love to maybe do a documentary. And boom, that's how it happened.
Nice. I mean, the Nimitz case is obviously one of the biggest cases now. And, to be able to go out and actually investigate on location with all that equipment, I mean, that's just a dream. So, but like, for anybody watching as well who's familiar with the documentary, at the end you see this kind of what could possibly be described as a portal with these white objects. Tell us about that. Tell us about the initial response to that from you guys and what you thought you might have captured.
So I wasn't on that team that caught that. I was on the Catalina Island part, and that was it filmed in Laguna. I mean, yeah, it was cool when we first saw it. It's like, cool, what is it? But still don't know what it is. It still could be a splash of water on a lens for all I know. It's never really gotten a definitive answer. Right away they're like, it's a wormhole. And the funny thing is, what people don't know is that Caroline named the movie A Tear in the Sky before we even had that evidence. Before we even went to film, she named it. So people think the movie was named after that, but it had nothing to do with that.
That's crazy, man. I admit I was one of those people who thought, well, they captured this thing. They've got this perfect name.
Cart before the horse.
Wow, that's amazing. And again, for anybody watching who hasn't seen A Tear in the Sky, I highly recommend going to check it out. Again, it's something a bit different from your average UFO documentary. It's a great team, great equipment.
I think it's on YouTube. YouTube for free now. It's on YouTube.
Oh, okay. I'll look out for it. If I do find a link again, I'll pop it in the description below for anybody.
Or Amazon. It's on Amazon, all that stuff.
So, Dave, let's move on just to a few things that have been happening in the kind of the subject for a while, and I'd just like to get your own personal views on it. Well, first of all, actually, let me ask you: have you ever seen a UFO or anything anomalous that you haven't been able to kind of figure out what it was?
Yeah, so I've seen a couple. They did not start until I got into this. The first one was when we were filming A Tear in the Sky. I filmed some stuff with night vision. I don't know what it was. Then when I came home a few months later, I saw something in my backyard, which I can give to you. You could show it. It's crazy footage, man, of an orb. I was with my mom, and I'm filming it. And I knew my backyard sky. I knew it wasn't supposed to be there. Filming it, and then it disappeared. And then it came back, and I couldn't see it, but my mom could, which is very common with UFO encounters. There'll be times where you'll have a group of 5 people, 2 will see it and 3 won't. So after like 2 minutes, I was able to see it for myself, and I filmed it again, and it disappeared again.
No idea what the hell that is. Holy shit! Holy shit! I filmed it! I was filming!
So the one that you mentioned while you were filming Tear in the Sky, was that looking out again from Laguna Beach?
Catalina. I was on a roof. I was on a hotel roof in Catalina, filming it. They messed up when they dropped us off on the island. They didn't give us anything to record the night vision with. So luckily, we figured out we could take the cell phone and hold the cell phone up and film it that way. And then Chrissy Newton, again, she came out with us for a couple nights, and while she was out there, man, some crazy glowing orbs that you couldn't see with the naked eye. You could only see them with night vision, sort of popping up in the sky. And those, I have all that rough footage is on my YouTube channel as well.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I'll pop the link for that so people can go and check it out. Yeah, I love seeing stuff like that, especially from that location. I do personally, I believe that there is definitely something anomalous happening in that area.
I did a lot of research before we went out there. Talked to a lot of people. I talked to a lot of fishermen captain. I talked to a lot of whale watchers. I became friends with this guy named Jim Watson, who's the editor of the Catalina Island newspaper. So much crazy stuff happens that the guy's written 2 books on Catalina Island phenomena. It's been happening out there for a long time. A lot of people don't know that's where the OSS, the precursor to the CIA, was the first training grounds was there. There was a lot of cult activity, a lot of like cult rituals going on there in the past during like the golden years of Hollywood. It's a weird place, man. And I think that whatever this is, I think it lives under the water there. I think that whatever this thing is here, I don't think it's from space. I think it's either from here, has been here the entire time and lives underground and under the water, or it's another dimension. I don't think it's coming from space. And the weird thing is that there was an audio it was a remote viewing audio session leaked. It was done by Kit Green and the psychic, and he gave her the coordinates, didn't tell her what it was. She remote viewed it, and she came back and she's like, yeah, there's some beings under, there's a base underwater, and they're there protecting a fault line. Because if they don't protect the fault line, that whole area will be gone. So then I think, okay, if that's true, and it's true that they're buzzing these nuclear sites, and they're giving these kids visions of the apocalypse, to me, only reason I could see them doing that is because they live here. They don't want us to blow up their home. Why would they care? You know what I mean? Like, why? There's so many things that happen, so many connections to lead me to believe that they're here. They live here. They're too involved with saving the planet and all that stuff.
Yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of those points there. I think in my years of studying and researching the subject, going from my initial, right, okay, let's look into this extraterrestrial subject, to now, I'm with you on that. I think it is something here under the water, whether it's a portal under there or actually a base or a home.
You know, and then you got to wonder, like, well, why haven't they done anything to stop us from doing anything crazy so far? Well, we haven't really done anything that crazy on the planet recently. I mean, but it's so common at nuclear accidents that there's UFO sightings, you know? And, you know, I think that if we started, for some reason, really working underwater, like there's all these talks about putting underwater labs in, I think if we start doing stuff like that, then they're going to show themselves.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But do you think there's anybody in government or military intelligence circles that does know the reason why they're here, or the things that we're talking about? Do you think it's knowledge that's known?
I was told by somebody that there is communication because there's an asteroid coming around 2027, and that they're going to help us change the orbit of it. And that's when it's going to be known that they're here, because the government's going to have to explain, look, they're here to help us.
That year comes up a lot, you know. You had John Ramirez talk about it and others. So, I mean, if it's true, I hope they manage it. So, you know, what are your thoughts on this whole government thing? You know, obviously since 2017 and everything since then, and it's all been kind of pointing towards this, you know, getting the congressional hearings and you know, people in positions of power to try and help us get disclosure. Do you think that that's working, or do you think it's just a lost cause and it's a smokescreen?
I mean, to me, the only thing it's really doing, at least for the good, is getting it out in the media a lot more. You know, I'm a member of the Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, which is a couple of actors, producers, directors from Hollywood that are pushing for that. I don't think they're going to do it unless they have to. You know, I don't, put it this way, I don't wake up every day and go, maybe today's the day. You know, like, don't give me a year it's going to happen, because it's always, you know, the next year and the next year. I don't want to hear that, man. Like, it's cool that it's happening, and I'm all for it. I'm for disclosure, but I don't think they're going to do it unless their hand is forced.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. I mean, it's difficult, really, isn't it? It's really difficult. I'm all for and I support all of the different sort of groups that are really kind of getting into this, especially some of the big scientific organizations that we have, Galileo, Sol Foundation, and there's more, obviously. So, you know, I'm always kind of a positive person when it comes to it, but at the same time, I'm not going to kid myself. Like you said, it's not going to happen tomorrow, sort of thing.
I mean, if it did, great. But I think right now, I mean, the president just got shot, or the former president just got shot. Biden pulled out of the election today. They got other stuff to worry about than this. You know, we got more problems, I think, than this right now. So,
yeah. That's true. We can't always just expect people to just put the UFO subject above everything else, even though we might think, and it could well be the most important thing in human history, but we can't say that to the whole world until it becomes, you know, common knowledge.
And I think another part of it is because they'd have to answer a lot of questions too, like abductions, stuff like that. That had like the bad things that have happened, whether it's true or not, I don't know. I mean, I believe some of these stories. Only problem that I really have had lately with abductions is I was developing a show, and I got hired to do this. They wanted to do a show completely based on people getting implants removed. There was hard to find. It was hard for me to find somebody new that has come out and said, I was abducted by the Greys and I've got an implant. I don't think that's happened since the 90s. Right? Have you heard that lately?
Well, that's the thing, absolutely. The abduction phenomena just seemed to kind of just dip right down end of the 90s. And so, I always ask the question to people, do you think it's still happening? And I don't think I've had anybody say to me that they are certain or they're convinced that it's still happening today.
I had I made a comment at one time, and I got a message from somebody, I forget who it was, and they said, great observation, the intelligence community feels the same way, that it's not happening. I mean, there's people having experiences, allegedly, but they're not negative experiences, not like they used to be. But yeah, man, it's really weird. Like it just doesn't happen anymore.
Well, listen, Dave, we kind of talked about the new show, and that kind of, that's the main focus at the moment. And again, I urge everybody to go and check it out as it's airing now. But before I let you go, is there anything that you're working on, maybe that you can give us any hints of, anything exciting, just a little exclusive?
I really can't talk about stuff. I could tell you that, well, you met one of my producing partners, Rick Sassoon. Didn't you meet Rick for help George out? Yeah. So him and I are working on some stuff, some pretty big stuff. And I'm working on developing something with cryptids as well. And I got hired to executive produce 2 scripted shows about UFOs and aliens. And one of them, it's going to be like the X-Files meets Stranger Things. And it's going to be huge. It's going to be hopefully for Netflix. I got a great team. I got a great group of advisors. Everybody that watches this will know who. Once the names come out, you'll know who my advisors are on this show, and hopefully it's gonna go. Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, I appreciate that. That is definitely exciting. Yeah, for sure, man. Well, listen, Dave, thank you so much, man. I just appreciate this conversation. I know it was a bit brief, but we'll do it again whenever anything comes out in the future. We'll do it again for sure, man.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
No worries, my friend. And anybody watching, I'm going to end it by playing the trailer again for the new show. So again, thanks for watching and tuning in as always, and we'll see you on the next one.
I was abducted by aliens 7 times since 1984.
Everyone has a story, and this is the town that UFOs built. I'm here to listen to firsthand accounts, consider the evidence.
Oh my God. I see it.
At that point, I'll render a verdict.
I'm a journalist. I'm an investigator. The most important thing to me is facts.
We have a piece of material evidence.
Our whole house lit up.
I just unfortunately can't say this is a UFO.
I feel like it's some bull. I believe the data is wrong.
I wish I could just know what it was.
There's no question to me that you experienced a UFO. You never know who's going to walk through the front door in Roswell, New Mexico.